This tale is a harrowing and deeply human novel that plunges readers into the heart of a woman's struggle against the suffocating constraints of tradition, religion, and society. Through the eyes of Izdihar, a fallen Arab girl whose journey from innocence to despair is marked by love, betrayal, resilience, and sacrifice, Dr. Ahmed crafts an epic tale that exposes the hidden wounds and silent battles faced by women in patriarchal cultures. Based on true events, this story is not only a chronicle of survival, but also a powerful indictment of the social and religious forces that shape and often shatter lives. With unflinching honesty and emotional depth, The Fallen Arab Girl invites readers to witness the courage it takes to reclaim dignity and hope in a world determined to deny them both. Chapter 3. Everyone came to know we love each other. Some of my friends thought I was a selfish girl and took him from my friend Nabila, who was his fiancée. I was openly blamed by everyone and told to my face by some girls that I was a selfish, disloyal, and rude young woman with no regard for friendship, fellowship, the right to companionship, and the neighborhood. So many of my friends, colleagues, and neighbors boycotted me. Even some of my relatives, from my father's and mother's sides, hated me when they heard the shocking news. However, I did not end my love affair with him, and our love continued to grow steadily. In a brief time, we became famous lovers, as if we were Kays and Layla or Antar and Abla. Many young people admired our bold approach and treated us as if we were the hero and heroine in a movie. His mother did not want him to marry Nabila because she was close to him through his father. For this reason, his mother welcomed our romantic relationship and bragged about it to the women in the neighborhood. Whenever I went to their house or met her somewhere, she would compliment my beauty and personality. My family also liked our love relationship. So, we became engaged to each other within a few months. I wanted to finish my studies and get my high school diploma before we got married. But he was in a hurry, as if he were afraid I would change my mind if it took a long time. A year after the beginning of our love, and after the end of our engagement period, we got married. A few days later, I was transferred to his family's home. We lived with his mother and father. Our married life was happy at first. His mother treated me like a queen in her house. Everything I wanted she bought for me. My husband was unemployed at the time, so we were dependent on his wealthy family. He finished the 12th grade, but failed his exam and did not obtain any certificate. He was not interested in continuing his studies after he married me. He even prevented me from completing my studies and forced me to leave girls' high school before I completed the 11th grade. He and his parents wanted me to be a stay-at-home spouse. The insurmountable problem started between me and his family when his mother started asking whether I was pregnant with his child or not. How do I know whether I am pregnant or not unless I take a pregnancy test? I innocently told her to avoid always answering her constant questions. You're talking like a 9-year-old girl. I am not a child, but a married and sensible girl. But if you are an adult girl, of course, you will know whether you got your period or not. Yes, I got my period a few days ago. That means you are not a pregnant wife. A year has passed since you married my son, and you have not yet borne a child, as if you were a barren woman. Children are a gift from God, and he gives them at the time he wants to give them to his worshippers. She laughed sarcastically and said to me, "Today you have become a virtuous wife and a chaste girl after you fell in love before marriage with my son, and you allowed him to kiss you, hug you, and do everything forbidden with you until you brought the curse of barrenness upon you." I could not answer her false accusations against me or try to deny them because I knew that those rumors were spreading in our neighborhood about my love affair with my fiancé before our marriage. Yet, she continued to pester me with that pressing question. I did not like the performative looks on her face whenever she asked me about my pregnancy. When she continued to nag me about that pregnancy, I told my husband. He told me to ignore her and live my married life with him as if nothing had happened. After another year, his mother was convinced that I was barren and unable to have children. She constantly teased me about it as if I were intentionally refraining from having a child for her son. She started quarreling with me daily for some reason or no reason. Her quarrels with me reached my mother's ears. My mother came to her house and challenged her to send me and her son to the doctor for a medical examination. She treated me harshly after her fight with my mother. I asked my husband to take me to the doctor to find out whether I was barren or not, but he refused. Shortly thereafter, I heard that my mother-in-law was secretly planning to find a second Muslim wife for her son. I asked my husband about his mother and the possibility of him taking a second Muslim wife besides me, but he denied it. One day, I had a big fight with my mother-in-law. She accused my mother and family of all kinds of vices and false slander. She claimed that my mother, when she was a new bride, was having a secret relationship with the milkman, Abdul Qadir Al-Araj, and that I was an illegitimate daughter, and my biological father was the secret lover of my mother, who was cheating on her husband with him. When I scolded her and challenged her to prove her false accusations, she spat in my face and slapped me. In my anger, I also spat on her face, but I did not hit her on the cheek like she did. When my husband found out that I had spat in his mother's face, he divorced me immediately. This was not my first divorce. One day, when my husband was having a family dispute, he swore to divorce me. When family members did not respond to his demands, this was counted as a first divorce against me. As a result of my second divorce, my mother-in-law kicked me out of her house, and I returned to my father's house. After a few days, my husband regretted his decision. He wanted to take me back, but his mother was against our reconciliation. She threatened to cut off one of her breasts if her son took me back as his wife again after my divorce. I lived with my parents for a few months. My husband visited me at my family's house often. By then, his mother's anger had gradually faded. She finally agreed to take me back to her home as a halal Muslim wife for her son. My husband asked me to apologize to her for spitting in her face, which I did. When I moved back in with her, she changed her attitude towards me. We lived in peace for a few months. But one day my mother came to my house and told me the sad news that I hardly believed it. She told me that my husband wanted to marry his cousin Nabila. She is my friend, colleague, and former neighbor who was engaged to him before he fell in love with me. I did not believe my mother until I asked my husband about his intention for a second Islamic marriage. He admitted it reluctantly. I asked him to divorce me immediately. He refused to release me. His main argument was that he wanted to have a child with Nabila to bear his name. I was afraid to go to a doctor and have a medical examination to find out if I was barren. When I confirmed that my husband wanted to marry Nabila, I left his house without his knowledge and returned to my parents' home. My husband came to me a few days later. He apologized to me and promised me that he would not marry Nabila if I returned to him. I accepted his apology and returned to his house. I knew that if I did not have a child, my husband would marry a second wife eventually. Nabila would certainly be willing to marry him as a challenge to me and in revenge for her belief that I stole her lover and fiancé from her and married him treacherously and betrayed our friendship, as everyone believes. At first, I wanted to go to a doctor and get an examination without my husband knowing. But I was afraid to do an examination without informing him. Instead, my neighbor took me to a magician man. He was a witch doctor named Faki Mahmoud, and he was incredibly famous. He was originally from Upper Egypt, from southern Egypt. He was young and handsome. He belonged to the same tribe as my husband. They are both black Nubians from southern Egypt. He was famous for his success in his magic healing career. He assured me that I would have a child if I agreed to trust him for my infertility and pay a certain amount of money. Before I paid the amount to him and agreed for him to treat me for the insurmountable problem of sterility that I thought I was suffering from, I spoke with my mother, and she liked the idea and agreed to pay the required amount. We paid the money secretly without the knowledge of my husband and his parents, and Faki Mahmoud began his treatment for me. Every time I went to his house, he would give me some black water. It is some verses of the Holy Quran written on a wooden tablet, then washed with warm water, placed on a bottle, and the barren wife is asked to drink that diluted water. At least he said his treatment would take 2 months. If I was not pregnant within 3 months, Faki Mahmoud promised to return the money we had paid. I innocently believed him and did everything he asked me to do. I was so desperate that I was willing to do anything to get pregnant. I did not want my husband to marry Nabila as a second Muslim wife and become my rival wife. I did not want to live with a competitive wife in my married life. I knew that the biggest crime a husband commits against his wife is marrying a second wife beside her. The woman, my neighbor, who introduced me to Faki Mahmood, claimed that he helped her have a child after 3 years of living with her husband without having a successor. Whenever I went to Faki Mahmood, he would give me black eraser water, which would make me completely numb like a drunk or drugged woman, and I would sleep in his house. My neighbor always accompanied me and sat waiting for me to wake up from my coma. While she was waiting, she was sitting in a place crowded with visitors who had come to receive treatment. Most of them were married women who came to the mighty witch doctor to give them talismans, charms, or amulets to prevent their husbands from marrying other women as their rival co-wives. There were unmarried girls who wanted the witch doctor to give them solutions to their spinsterhood problems. The treatment was continued weekly. Sometimes Al-Faki would put his hands all over my body and spit on my face. For 8 weeks, I visited Faki Mahmood's home with my good neighbor. She was indeed. Her name was Taiba. During treatment, I became very fascinated by the so-called magic healer. In an abbreviated period, I became friends with him as if I had known him for years. He had a very charming personality. Most of his visitors were young, unmarried women. On the last visit, the witch doctor asked me to make sure that my husband would sleep with me that night and have sex with me until my womb was filled with his child and I became pregnant. My husband knew nothing about my visits to Faki Muhammad. Meanwhile, the date of his second marriage to his cousin Nabila was secretly set. But my mother learned about it from a neighbor and informed me about it again. When I asked my husband, he admitted that he wanted a second Islamic marriage to Nabila because he wanted to have children with her. As he told me, as a man, Sharia allows him to marry 4 wives at the same time. He read to me part of Surah An-Nisa, verse 3, which allows a man to have multiple wives. So, marry as many women as you like, 2, 3, or 4. This time I left his house and was determined never to return. I also stopped going to Faki Mahmood. It was heartbreaking and humiliating for me and my family when my husband married my neighbor and former colleague Nabila and celebrated their marriage publicly. After my husband married my ex-girlfriend, I considered my marital relationship with him to be over forever. My love for him gradually died, and I regretted that I fell in love with him and married him. I felt that I had made a big mistake in causing the breakup of his previous engagement with Nabila. I thought he lied to me about his love affair and engagement with her. He left her, abandoned her, and betrayed her when he saw my amazing beauty and lusted after my sexy body. Moreover, I concluded that she would bear him children, and everyone would consider that God had cursed me with barrenness and punished me for the evil, selfish, and greedy actions I had committed against my friend. Chapter 4. When I fled my husband's house and returned to my parents' home, I found a Christian family who had moved into the house next to my family's house. That Coptic family bought the house next to my family's house from a Muslim family that sold their place after the head of the family, Mr. Sirhan, died in a fatal traffic accident, and the family members became poor and did not even have enough food to survive. It was a large family consisting of 7 children, all of whom were still young and in school. 4 of them are girls and 3 are boys, and none of the sons have reached the age of 10 yet to find work and earn money to support his family members after the sudden death of his father. Therefore, they sold their house and bought another house in a poor neighborhood crowded with needy residents as well. I learned from my mother that this poor widow now works as a housekeeper in rich people's residences to earn a living for her 7 children. My mother, Khadija, and my brother, Samir, became friendly with the members of this new Christian family. This new Coptic family that has become our neighbor consists of a father, mother, son, and daughter. It did not take long for me to discover that my Muslim brother Samir had fallen in love with the daughter of that Christian family. My brother's girlfriend was known as Gabriella. She was an exceptionally beautiful girl. She had long hair and noticeably fair skin. Compared to us, she looked like a foreign Kawajia, one of the blondes of Europe. She had incredibly beautiful green eyes. When I talked to my brother Samir about his relationship with her, he admitted that he had fallen in love with her. Gradually, I too developed a kind of friendship and affection with her. She would often come to our house and spend long hours talking to my brother Samir. Gabriella had an older brother named Gabriel. He was a good man too. Like his sister, he was sweet and had a charismatic personality. He was also very handsome and looked like a young white European Khawaja. As their friendship with my family developed, I also began to love Gabrielle. I loved visiting Gabriella at her home and talking to her brother. Whenever the Coptic girl came to our house, her brother would come with her. I discovered that the handsome Christian guy Gabriel started to like me too. One day, I talked to Gabriella about the future of her friendship with my brother Samir. I knew in Islam that it is permissible for a Muslim man to marry a Christian girl without asking her to change her religion. Gabriella admitted that she loved my brother Samir, but said that she would never marry him if he was a Muslim and adhered to his religion. She said that her Christian religion prevents her from marrying a non-Christian, even if he is a Jew, a Muslim, or an atheist. Her words discouraged me for a while and made me stop frequent visits to her house. I informed my brother of his Christian girlfriend's decision, and I was surprised to learn that he knew about it. He said that regardless of the outcome of his love affair with Gabriella, he would still love her. I was so amazed by the relationship between my brother and his Coptic girlfriend. At first, I viewed it as a fruitless and pointless friendship. But as the months passed, I discovered that Samir and Gabriella loved each other unconditionally. It was true love between them that united their souls, even though their bodies may never meet in marriage. The love between my Arab Muslim brother and our Coptic Christian neighbor made me realize that my husband never loved me as a person, but he loved my beauty and my body. When he learned that we could not have children, he ran to his relative Nabila, whom he had once abandoned, and married me. I understood that if she did not have children, he would marry a third Muslim wife as well. I regretted my decision to stop visiting Gabriella and meet her brother Gabriel. So, I once again began to bond with the Coptic boy and allowed his love to grow within me. When my mother found out that I loved our Christian neighbor, she became incredibly angry with me. She scolded me and repeatedly told me that I was still legally married to my husband. I asked my mother why she did not object to the love relationship between her Muslim son, Samir, and the Christian girl, Gabriella. My mother said that Samir is not married, and Sharia law allows him to marry a Christian girl. However, I ignored my mother's warnings and objections and allowed Gabriel's love to fill my heart and heal the wounds caused by my husband marrying another girl as a second Muslim wife next to me. Our Muslim parents also strongly warned and forbade us not to eat any food in the house of our infidel Christian neighbors because their food is not permissible for Muslims to eat because it is not halal food. Ironically, Brother Gabriel and his sister Gabriel did eat food in our house even though they knew that we considered them infidel Christians and their food was forbidden for us to eat because we are Muslims. I felt like I had never understood, experienced, or enjoyed love until I fell in love with Gabriel. He had the most charming and charismatic personality I have ever met. I knew that my relationship with him would not lead to marriage even if my Muslim husband divorced me, because Islamic law prohibits a Muslim woman from marrying a Christian man. However, these religious restrictions did not become a fundamental problem for Gabriel and me. We continued to meet secretly at his home or my parents' house and express our sincere and strong feelings for each other. We hugged, kissed, and caressed each other's bodies. But we did not have sex. When my Muslim husband learned of my romantic relationship with the Christian guy Gabriel through some of our neighbors, he asked me to return to his house because I was still his first Muslim wife. I stood strongly against his request and told him that he should never dream of me returning to his home if he had Nabila as a second Muslim wife and my rival competitor. My husband ignored me and took the case to the Sharia court. When I was invited to come to the Sharia court to attend the session, I refused to go. Despite my absence from the trial, the Sharia court judge considered me a disobedient woman, or Nashi's wife who rebelled against the authority of her Muslim husband, and therefore he issued an obedience law against me. After the Sharia court issued a verdict of obedience against me, the police came to my father's house and forcefully took me to my husband's house. Accordingly, my Muslim husband locked me in his house and did not allow me to visit my parents. My relationship with him was no longer between a lover and a beloved, but rather between a Muslim master and his imprisoned Muslim slave wife. He often beat me and tortured me. He started raping me whenever I refused to have sex with him as husband and wife in bed. He told me repeatedly that the Quran allows him to discipline me by hitting me whenever I disobey him, even during sexual intercourse. He quoted a verse from Surah An-Nisa that permits Muslim men to discipline their disobedient women. Men are guardians of women because God has favored them over others and because they spend their wealth. So, the righteous women are obedient and protect the unseen by what God has preserved. And as for those whose disobedience you fear, admonish them, and leave them to your beds, and beat them. But if they obey you, do not seek a way against them. Indeed, God is Most High. Surah An-Nisa 4, verse 34. He often raped me through painful anal sex. He also quoted a verse from the Quran that permits a husband to have anal sexual intercourse with his wife against her wishes. This is done by inserting his erect penis into her small asshole and fucking her against her will, even if she screams in pain. The Holy Quran says, "So your women are your tillage, so come to your tillage wherever you wish."
Surat Al-Baqarah 2, verse 223.
As a result, I began to hate him bitterly and wished for his death to save me from his tyranny and torment. He understood that I no longer loved him, but I loved the Coptic Christian boy, Gabriel. For this reason, he beat me, raped me, and tied me with ropes in the obedience house like a rebellious female slave to him. Chapter 5. Even though my husband locked me in his house and prevented me from meeting anyone else, he could not kill my deep and sincere love for the young Coptic Christian guy Gabriel. His mother died shortly after I was brought to her home by the police. His mother's death was a huge relief to me. Before she died, she constantly teased me and blamed me for not having children. After her death, I received some relief, but enjoyed little freedom under house arrest in the house of obedience. My husband allowed my mother to come to visit me once a month. Every time she came, I asked her about my Muslim brother Samir, his Christian girlfriend Gabriella, and her Coptic brother Gabriel. My mother always told me they were doing well. One day she told me that my brother got accepted into the police academy and moved to the Egyptian capital city. She said that Gabriella was admitted into a medical college and moved to Cairo City as well. As for Gabriel, she said that he got a job in a bank and still lives with his parents. I was thrilled to learn that my Coptic lover was still living in the same city as me. The news about him brought so much joy to my heart and made me long to see him again. I always longed to kiss him, cuddle him, and enjoy the company of his sweet personality. Due to constant requests and pressure from my family members, my husband finally allowed me to visit my father's house from time to time. Although these visits were only allowed once or twice a month, I was able to meet my beloved Christian Gabriel and renew our love. By then my husband had married a third Muslim wife. After I learned about his third wife, I began to look at him as a selfish man looking for pleasure. He did not care about breaking the hearts of others, even his first and second wives. I viewed his second Islamic marriage to Nabila and the third Muslim wife as a marriage of betrayal and not an Islamic marriage permitted by the Holy Quran for the Muslim husband in Surah An-Nisa 4, verse 3. That is why I decided to betray him too with the person I love sincerely. I encouraged my Christian lover, Gabriel, to visit me at my home while my selfish Muslim husband was away at work. I told him over the phone when he could come and have a fun time with me. After the death of his controlling mother, I had some freedom. His father was elderly, senile man, more than 70 years old geezer. He is a blind man and suffers from problems with his hearing and movement. So he did not know anything was happening at home while his only son, my husband, was away at work. My Coptic lover, Gabriel, started coming to visit me secretly. No one knew about his visits. Although I started cheating on my husband by having sex with my Christian lover, I always asked myself who was the first traitor, as he cheated on me by having sex with another girl, who is Nabila, under the pretext of Islamic polygamy. He repeated the same infidelity against me when he took a third Muslim wife as a new rival competitor. I have always asked myself, Why does Islamic law permit a Muslim husband to commit adultery with 2 or 3 women while he is married to his first legal wife? What woman in the entire world can tolerate her husband sleeping with another woman in public? When a man commits adultery, the Holy Quran and Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad call it an Islamic halal marriage, and when a wife does the same, Islam calls her an adulterer, condemns her, and orders her to be stoned to death. Why these double standards? When I reached this conclusion, I began to have a physical relationship with my Christian lover, Gabriel, without feeling that I was doing anything wrong. I knew that I was a Muslim woman and could not marry him as a Christian man even if my husband divorced me. Therefore, I had to enjoy my friendship and love with him secretly without anyone knowing. To be honest with you, my dear friend Hafez, I started cheating on my Muslim husband with my Christian lover without feeling guilty or committing adultery with another man. I started having sex with my Coptic friend Gabriel for 2 reasons. Firstly, I did it because I loved him with every cell in my body. Secondly, and the most important reason, is that I wanted to know whether I was a barren wife or whether my husband was infertile. It did not take long before I got an answer to my important question. It happened and I became pregnant. It was a great relief and joy for me. I missed my period and concluded that I had become pregnant by my Christian lover. I first spoke to my mother about this happy news, but I told her I got pregnant from my Muslim husband. I also lied to her that I was still receiving treatment to solve the insurmountable problem of infertility through the witch doctor Faki Mahmoud. My mother believed my lies and took me to a doctor for a pregnancy test. My pregnancy was confirmed through urine and blood tests. I became pregnant with a child after 5 years of marriage. As soon as my husband got home, I told him the good news about my pregnancy. I wanted him to know about it. I expected the news of my pregnancy to be a challenge for him, not happy news. However, I thought he would be incredibly happy to have a child after being married to 2 other rival women besides me. None of his 3 Muslim wives became pregnant except me, his first wife. But his response surprised me. He replied with astonishment and an angry face, "That's impossible. You cannot be pregnant. It is a false medical report. It must be a phantom pregnancy." I said in amazement, "I am pregnant," and the doctor confirmed this through urine and blood tests. When he did not respond, I shouted at him, "Why don't you believe that? Are you sad because I became pregnant?" "No, you are not pregnant," he repeated his words aloud. "If it is true that you are pregnant, then you are divorced." "You want to divorce me because I'm pregnant?" "Yes, you're divorced if you are pregnant. I cannot live with a worthless woman like you who cheats on her husband with another man." It did not take me long to understand his meaning. "Why didn't you tell me that before? Why did you deceive me that you wanted to marry Nabila because you wanted to have a child? Then the 3rd woman you took as a wife for the same excuse." He did not answer my questions. He just got up and said to me, "You are divorced. When I return home, I do not want to see you here. If I find you in my house, I will slaughter you in an honor killing." Then he left the house and slammed the door behind him in great rage. When the Egyptian girl Izdihar reached this point in telling her tragic story to her friend Hafez, she emptied the cup in her mouth and looked at him to see if he understood her problem. Hafez filled her glass with liquor, lit a cigarette, and placed it between her lips. Then he took out his handkerchief and wiped away the heavy tears falling like rain from her cheeks. "My dear Izdihar, why didn't you tell me your husband's name? You told me the name of your Christian lover, Gabriel, and the others except his name. I deliberately neglected to mention his name because it does not befit his evil character. But since you asked me, I will only say it once and never say it again. His despicable name will defile me if I mention it again with my tongue. His name is Al-Taib Salih, but my husband was the most despicable, selfish, and lustful person I have ever met. He alone destroyed my life and sent me to brothels." "What happened after that?" Hafez asked in a voice almost crying. "He kicked me out of his house and divorced me for the 3rd time. My mother did not make a big deal about it because she was afraid of scandal. I tried to assure her that the baby in my womb was my husband's, but she did not want to talk to me about my suspicious pregnancy. My husband spread malicious rumors against me and swore by the Holy Quran in front of his relatives, friends, and neighbors that I had betrayed him and committed adultery with another kicker. He specifically mentioned to people that I used to bring my uncircumcised lover, the infidel Christian man, Gabriel in his absence, and I committed adultery with him in his house, his room, and in his bed. He claimed that some neighbors told him that they saw the uncircumcised, infidel Christian pig entering his house. My mother herself doubted the paternity of the child and considered him, like others, not to be my husband's son, but rather an illegitimate child whom I had conceived through adultery with my infidel Christian lover. So many people thought he was the child of my beloved Christian Gabriel. At any rate, 9 months later, I gave birth to the baby. He was born and I gave him the name Adel Al-Taib Salih. Everyone thought that my eldest son, Adel, was Gabriel's child. Some of my husband's relatives came to my parents' house and publicly accused me of cheating on my Muslim husband with an infidel Christian man. What I thought would bring me some relief turned out to be a source of great shame for me and my family. I lived a very miserable life after that. However, I did not blame myself or even my beloved Gabriel. Despite all these rumors and gossip, I continued to love him and met him secretly at his residence and at my house. My third divorce was a relief, not a sadness. I suffered so much when I heard women blaming my mother on her face. The constant complaining from my husband's relatives and neighbors made me regret my hasty decision to have an illegitimate child with someone other than my Muslim husband. I wished that my husband would take me back to his house so that I could silence the mouths of these obscene women. Because of the gossip and the shadow of that scandal about my ill-gotten child, I lived a terrifying life. I even tried to commit suicide 3 times to get rid of the sexual scandal that continued to torment my conscience, eat my heart like cancer, and disturb my family. The first time, I swallowed some pills to die in my bed. I was taken to the hospital by ambulance while I was unconscious, and my life was saved. The second time I drank something blue from the dye and thought it was poisonous. Once again, my family took me to the hospital, and I survived. My family became worried about me. Depression has led to me having some psychological problems. I started talking to myself when no one was there with me as if I was a crazy woman. In my third suicide attempt, I even used a razor and cut my wrists. But again, my family saved me, and I was transferred to an ambulance and rushed to the intensive care unit in the hospital. Sometimes I would hallucinate, seeing my husband and his wife Nabila and talking to them. Sometimes I would laugh and cry for no reason. My mother thought that my in-laws had cast a black magic spell on me or that I had been struck by the evil eye of an envious woman. My mother took me to some witch doctors. She also took me to Amra Shaika's house and performed the Alzar dance ritual on me. It is an Islamic religious ritual in which evil demons are exorcised through dancing to appease those unclean devils possessing a woman. Only Muslim women were allowed to participate in this satanic religious dance. When Alzar did not treat me, my mother took me to a Muslim sheikh who claimed that he could expel the devil from my body, which was possessed by jinn, through Islamic lawful rojia or exorcism. Although he read to me Ayat al-Kursi from Surat al-Baqarah 2, verse 255, and Al-Muwazzadin both Surah Falaq or Daybreak 113 and Surah Nas or Mankind 114 from the Holy Quran, he did not treat me or relieve me from my psychological traumas. Despite all those magical and religious treatments, nothing was able to save me from that hellish life. After examining all the methods of Islamic religious treatment, the Christian woman, our neighbor, who is the mother of Gabriel and Gabriella, suggested to my Muslim mother that she knows an ascetic Coptic Christian hermit who lives alone in a monk's cell in the heart of the desert. She said that many Coptic Christians and even Egyptian Muslims went to him to receive treatment for diseases that have no cure, such as cancer, epilepsy, the inability to have children due to barrenness, and to expel demons from their possessed bodies. Those possessed by jinn and goblins have been treated in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ and through the Holy Spirit, the Spirit of God the Father. She said that she knew Egyptian Christian and Muslim women who had not given birth, but after visiting that Christian saint, they became mothers of children. He is a single man who has no wife or relatives. He resides alone in his hermitage, where he lives alone. He fasts and prays to the Lord day and night in the heart of the desert in a single room called the furnace due to its intense heat, surrounded by poisonous snakes and scorpions. Of course, my Muslim mother rejected the advice of our Christian neighbor and did not take me to that Christian monk to expel the devils from me in the name of his Lord Jesus Christ. She said to me, if the righteous Muslim sheikh who worships Allah, believes in the oneness of God, and follows his infallible prophet, the chosen one Muhammad, did not treat me, then how can an infidel, uncircumcised, impure Christian monk who worships the prophet Jesus, son of Mary, as a Lord, expel Satan from my body possessed by jinn? After that, the Egyptian Muslim woman Izdihar stopped narrating her past tragedy and began to cry. Her friend Hafez held her in his arms and allowed her to cry for a while. She cried like a little girl who lost her loving mother who died and left her an orphan without anyone. Her lover continued to caress her hands and body until her emotions calmed down. She had a few glasses of hard alcohol before she started speaking again. My rescue came and pulled me out of my madness and suicidal mood. It came from the last place I expected to save my life in such a grim time. The relief came from the mosque. This happened during congregational prayer on Holy Friday. Women and young wives my age were not allowed to go to the mosque to pray. My mother was the first to tell me about the new teachings preached by the imam of the mosque near our house called Sheikh Atayatullah. In one of his Friday sermons, he talked about polygamy in Islam. He said that a Muslim man may marry up to 4 wives at the same time. He mentioned many reasons for a man to marry another Muslim woman with his first wife. He said that the Holy Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad did not give a reason for polygamy, but some contemporary scholars have specified reasons for marrying a second, third, or fourth woman. He mentioned not having children among the reasons stipulated by these jurists. My husband asked Imam Sheikh Atayatullah whether it is permissible for a Muslim woman to divorce her Muslim husband if he cannot have children because he is a barren man. His Eminence Sheikh Atayatullah told my husband, Al-Taib Salih, that infertility only concerns women. A man can be impotent, but a man cannot be as barren as a woman. All the people praying in the mosque, including my husband, believed in the Imam's teachings about the wife's impotence. The next day, my husband came to my house and openly apologized to my family and me. He told me that Imam Sheikh Atayatullah stated that all 4 schools of Sharia and all Muslim scholars agreed that the Muslim husband cannot be barren like the wife. After he apologized for falsely accusing me of marital infidelity, he expressed his willingness to return me to him. I had no choice but to accept his apology and respond to his request to return me to his home. Now he said that he believes that my firstborn child Adele, whom he accused me of giving birth to through adultery with my Christian lover Gabriel, is his child. However, I was not convinced by the opinion of the Imam of the mosque nor the consensus of Muslim jurists. I knew what Islamic law says in the case of proven adultery of a Muslim wife. The boy is for the bed and the whore is for the stone. This means that the illegitimate child must be attributed as the son of the adulterous wife's husband, but she must be stoned to death. Anyway, my parents accepted my husband's apology and encouraged me to join him at his house. A day has been set for me to return to his house. His second Muslim wife, Nabila, was not happy with our reconciliation. She even came to my parents' house and fought with me and my mother. Neither I nor my mother responded to her accusations. She strongly objected to my reconciliation with my husband and cited a legitimate reason preventing my return. She said that my husband could not take me back as his first Muslim wife because he divorced me 3 times. According to Islamic law, a man may divorce his wife twice and take her back. If he divorces her the 3rd time, she cannot return to him until she marries another man and sleeps with him. If her new Muslim husband divorces her after having sexual intercourse with her, then she can return to her ex-husband. When the matter reached the Imam of the mosque, Sheikh Atayatullah, he legally confirmed the validity of Nabila's objection.